What if I told you that everything you think you know about Princess Diana's family is wrong? We all know the fairy tale version. The shy, blue-eyed girl who became a princess. The fashion icon who defined a generation. Everyone points to the Spencers. An old aristocratic family. Wealthy. Respectable. Polished. But that's only the story we're meant to believe. Because hidden beneath the name Spencer is another story. A darker story. A story soaked in blood, betrayal, and forbidden love. A story erased from official history, but alive in Diana's veins. The name you need to remember isn't Spencer. It's Tudor. Yes, that Tudor. The dynasty of Henry VIII. The dynasty of beheaded queens, broken vows, and one of the bloodiest reigns in English history. You're probably thinking that's impossible. History tells us the Tudor line ended with Queen Elizabeth I. And officially that's true. But official history is often the most elaborate lie of all. So if you think the Tudor story ended, let's reopen it. Because this story doesn't begin in a golden palace or a grand coronation hall. It begins in the shadows, with a woman history tried to erase. Her name was Mary Tudor. Not Bloody Mary the Queen, another Mary. Henry VIII's younger sister. A woman whose beauty was legendary across Europe. Hair the color of fire gold. Eyes that could soften or burn with equal power. Henry adored her. He called her his pearl. But pearls can be locked away. In 1514, for political advantage, Henry arranged for his 18-year-old sister to marry King Louis XII of France, an aging, fragile man already near death. Imagine being her. Young, alive, passionate, walking into the cold stone corridors of a foreign court, surrounded by suspicious eyes and whispered rumors. A palace guard once told his son that Mary's laughter was the only warmth in the entire castle. 82 days after the wedding, King Louis was dead. Mary was a widow. And more importantly, she was free. But freedom for a princess in the 16th century wasn't freedom at all. It was just a pause, a held breath, before her brother chose her next cage. Because Mary wasn't just Henry's sister. She was his bargaining chip. And Mary had made a promise. A dangerous promise. Before being sent to France, she had fallen in love with Charles Brandon, Duke of Suffolk, Henry's closest friend, a man rising fast at court. Not royal, but powerful. Not crowned, but trusted, and completely hers. They swore that if fate ever freed her, she would choose her own husband. She would choose him. To defy Henry VIII was to risk death. But for love, some risks feel worth everything. When news of Louis's death reached England, Henry moved quickly. He sent Charles to escort Mary home. And he gave him a warning without words. A heavy gold signet ring pressed into his hand. "My trust," Henry said. "Don't betray it." Charles felt its weight burn in his pocket all the way across the channel. Torn between loyalty to a king and love for a woman. To choose Mary was treason. To abandon her was betrayal of the soul. When he arrived, Mary was dressed in mourning, black velvet, candlelight, silence. But when their eyes met, grief gave way to recognition. That night, she confronted him. "Marry me," she said. Not a request. A command. He warned her of the tower. Of the axe. Of what Henry did to men who crossed him. She didn't flinch. "If you don't," she whispered, "I will return to England and tell my brother you broke my heart." She trapped him between two deaths. So they married, in a tiny chapel outside Paris. A trembling priest. A few terrified witnesses. As the vows were spoken, a wind burst open the doors and snuffed half the candles. Even heaven seemed to recoil. They were married. And they were doomed. The journey home was torture. Every creak of the ship sounded like the grind of an axe. Letters were written. Please send. Jules offered. Nothing came back. When they reached Dover, there were no banners. Only cold faces. They were summoned not as guests, but as prisoners. Separated. Watched. Broken slowly. Henry didn't kill them. He did something worse. He humiliated them. Stripped them of wealth. Forced them to kneel publicly. Chained their children to his permission. "You will live," he said, "but you will never be free." And so the bloodline continued cursed. Their daughter Frances was forced into a loveless marriage. Her daughter Jane was crowned, used, and beheaded at 17. Catherine was imprisoned and erased. Mary was mocked and isolated. Generation after generation punished not for crimes, but for existing. Until the bloodline was thinned, buried, and forgotten. Hidden under another name. Spencer. Quiet landowners. Sheep farmers. Respectable. Unremarkable. Until one day, a shy girl with blue eyes was born. Diana Frances Spencer. That middle name was no accident. It came from Frances Brandon, from Mary Tudor. When Diana married into the royal family, the world called it a fairy tale. But it wasn't. It was history folding in on itself. The bloodline Henry VIII tried to destroy returned to the throne. Not through conquest, not through rebellion, but through love, through Diana, through William, through a crown that once tried to erase her ancestors. History doesn't end. It waits. And sometimes, it comes back.